All right, so here is your past life spread. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to where you were, what you did with the majority of your time, like an occupation or how you spent the most of your day. A first important day with relationships and feelings involved. Another important day with relationships and feelings. The death and lesson learned, and we'll get hints of time throughout. All right, so all I'm going to do is relay to you the images and impressions that are already coming through, and your job is going to be to try to make connections where you can based off of what comes through here and your current life, and I'll try to help however I can. So keep in mind there are a couple of ways to make connections: direct and opposite. Direct connections is when you can directly connect or resonate with what comes through here. An opposite connection is the kind of thing where, because our soul likes to expand and experience very different things, let's say someone dies of drowning in another life, they may come back and be deathly afraid of water, or not like a certain body of water, or that kind of thing, or not like swimming. So keep it in mind as far as like the various ways you can make connections, and remember, it's for you to connect and resonate with, but don't force it. So what you may not connect with now, you want to tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because sometimes in the days, weeks, months, year later, things might connect or click then, and it'll be like, oh, that's what she's talking about. All right, so you might want to grab a notebook and pen, because a lot tends to come through. And I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. So first of all, what I can tell you is that this feels like it's a time period where I don't want to say full on like ancient times, but it feels like it's something about this person, people, or community in the time period where there's something that there are no record keeping things. It's not about record keeping. This is more of a doing kind of, it feels like a doing kind of community or life here. It feels like there's a lot of mobility, and it feels like we're looking at, it feels like it's about more about survival than luxury. So what I mean by that is record keeping, for some reason, to me is a luxury, because there's time and space to keep records and keep them safe and put up, and do you know what I mean? Whereas I feel like we're looking at this life that feels more out of survival mode. So it's almost like, what's the point of keeping records when I need to, hunt and get my meals and this and that kind of thing. And so I say hunt because we're looking at this card as the hunter provider card for what you did with the majority of your time. And the place we're going to, it feels like we're being drawn somewhere where there is dense bush, as in, this card is the Americas card, so it can encompass, North, Central, South America, and it feels like we're going south. So it could even be, it's almost like I want to say it could be central to South America, but like it feels like if it was South America, it'd be more northern, and if it was central, it'd be more southern central, if that makes sense. So it's like in this area, and it feels like it could even be Amazon forest kind of thing, just because I correlate that with like dense like green, dense forest, dense jungle, like it's just dense. It almost like they're putting me in a place where this aspect of you is mostly in shade because of the canopy of trees, like that kind of thing. So how you might connect to this already, let's start making connections, would be the idea of like survival and luxury. Are you like in your current life, are you in a place now, or have you been, like, is that what you were born into, where you feel like you are in survival mode, where you almost, I want to say, compromise your comfort levels emotionally or physically, because you're focused on your, let's say, mental and emotional health or comfort, if that makes sense. Almost like I want to say, this is the feeling of you being in emotional or mental comfort is considered a luxury for you, perhaps. So you might connect with that in some way. This can be the opposite connection, and that opposite connection would be if you were born into this life to experience luxury and physical comfort and all the comforts you can want, versus this. This does not feel like a miserable life, though. This just feels like survival. Almost like I want to say there's no other life that could be known to this aspect of you at this time based on where he is in the time period. It's not like he has internet. It's not like he is even, it feels like there's an isolation aspect where he's not even sociable with other people. And I want to say tribes because it feels like we're going indigenous here. So it feels a bit isolating. And I feel like there are people of his, but it's like they're all in shadow and they're all under canopy and they're all undercover. And it's just like, I don't know, there's not a lot of brightness or sun. And this can be the kind of like metaphorical connection you can make as well. If you ever feel like you are in shadow, or if in this life you feel like you are in dark places and trying to lift yourself up into lighter places, lighter emotional, mental, or physical places, you just might be someone that enjoys being in the dark. You might like nighttime, or you might like it's the kind of thing where you might not like, this is going to sound weird, but you might not like artificial light. And you might enjoy the natural light. Like, so if there's no natural light, then I'll sit in the dark room and I'll do what I do, you know, like that kind of thing. So connect with that how you can. Then there's something about record keeping where I want to say, like, record keeping doesn't come up in readings. Like, that's a new thing here. So it's almost like I want to say that might be a part of your life in the way where, one, you might keep a journal. You might love journaling, or a daily blog or something like that, where you can keep track of your life, because on a subconscious level, that is a luxury that was not given here. Now, the other thing could be, it could be a message to you to start keeping a log or a journal of your daily, I want to say like goings on, but it's more about like your daily mental, emotional state. As far as tracking progress is what I want to say. Like, there might be something to that if you can connect in whatever way, where it's almost like use it as a tool where you can look back and see how far you've come. Like, it's a feeling of keeping track of your progress, however you might connect with that, because it feels like here there was no track keeping. It was like a day-to-day grind, we can say, for survival. But again, there's this weird thing about not being like miserable or not like complaining or not minding, because there was no other known lifestyle. So if that's all you know, then it's not bad. Whereas today in this timeline, if you're upset and your life is all survival and miserable, it's worse, I would say, because you can compare to other things like on the internet where you're seeing everyone just living it up, and social media is just so fake that it by comparison it looks like it could be like, wow, I am living a shit life compared to everyone on the internet. So just in case you can connect with that, if you connect with that, by the way, it feels like this would be a message for you that if you find yourself comparing yourself, to do your best to be aware of when you are comparing yourself, and to have an affirmation in place so that you catch yourself and substitute it with an affirmation, like just reminding you, like, whatever I'm comparing to, I really don't even know what that reality is like. Even if it looks good and sounds good, it's still an illusion. And the only thing that's not an illusion is the life that you know, the life that you chose and were born into, where there are illusions in our lives, but we're fully aware of all the aspects of our lives. Whereas if we're comparing to someone else's life, we're only aware of the aspects that they decide to share with the world. And usually those people share just the really nice, pretty, good stuff. You know what I mean? So just in case you can connect with this comparison thing, we're seeing a life here of you where there was no comparison. So this aspect made the most out of his life and actually enjoyed it, even though it was just survival. It's something we today would not probably be able to handle, but here it's, again, not knowing any different. So there was actually enjoyment found in the survival, because that's all there was. That's all that he knew. And so as we're talking, I want to say this is a male aspect, masculine. So you in your current life, you might find that you are tapped into your masculine energy. That would be a direct connection. Masculine traits, energy, such as being, how do I want to say this, like forward stepping. I know it's a really weird way to put it. This feels assured, like assured in what you know about yourself and what you want for yourself, I guess, is that kind of thing. Might even be like, how am I trying to put this? Masculine trait, because our society deems masculine certain things that here is different. But I want you to just connect with how you connect with masculine energy. This can also be even like identity issues or roles that you find yourself in, like maybe what is it, like finding a balance between feminine, masculine, or just being like, I feel like I'm really tuned into my masculine, I'm going that way. Let's see, usually I get messages about like, oh, if you're so tuned into your masculine, then you need to tap into your feminine. And that comes through a lot, but it's not coming through here because it feels like there's something about the masculine energy that feels really balanced and also useful. I almost want to say it feels like if you were to tap into your feminine energy to the same extent that you would with your masculine, if you connect with tapping into your masculine, that it wouldn't be as serving, or wouldn't serve you at this time at least, as well as tapping into the masculine. Because there's something about masculine that is more, I want to say like protective and more like heightened awareness almost, which I know that kind of sounds feminine actually, like, but it's not. It's hyper awareness as in the surroundings or the environment. So I don't know if you're in your current life that you are hyper aware of your environment. Almost like I want to say, if you find that you are on guard in the sense of being aware in a like a security sense, like wherever you live, if you find that you might be, I hate to say paranoid, but it's like to the extent of being strongly, like have strong feelings about security, like safety, that kind of thing. So just connect however you can with that, because it feels like this aspect doesn't switch it off. Again, because of the survival thing. So this might be a natural part of you. Now, again, make connections the opposite way as much as you can, because the opposite would be if you are highly in tune with your feminine and you don't have any issues with your safety, you feel protected at all times, and you're, just everything's fine. Like that kind of connection. So just keep making connections however you can with this concept of safety, security, and being aware. Let's see. So, oh, you also, however you might connect with the idea of South America, if you've ever been drawn to, I want to say specifically South America that looks dense in brush, in forest, in jungle, like the Amazon kind of thing. If you've ever been drawn to that, even just like hearing about it, reading about it, seeing it in movies, just whatever, if you've ever been drawn to that area, that would be a connection. The connection you can also make, because this life is so much in this forest and it's all he knows, and yes, again, survival, but again, also enjoyment. There's something where he feels secure in it because that's what he lives in. You might be someone that is a forest person. You might get energy or peace of mind from being in the woods, by trees, like surrounded by greenery. So in case you are not and you lack peace of mind often, this may be a message for you to get out to that natural element of the forest, of the trees, of the green. And green itself might be a very useful color for you as far as feeling grounded and peace of mind. Clarity. Just in case that you are looking for that, if you're feeling ungrounded, unstable, uncertain ever, because we're human, you might want to get out to the woods, the forest, or just like, if you're a meditator kind of person, you just sit there and visualize green, or visualize yourself in greenery, or a green light energy kind of thing. Just something to consider. Okay. I mean, this would be a tree person, definitely trees. So, I mean, if you are a tree person, if that's your gig, if you just, if that, like, out of all of nature, like some people are like, they love the clouds and they love the ocean. And so if you're a tree person, this would be a direct connection. Opposite would be if you can't stand the woods and you like just like the ocean or grassy plains or open spaces. Ooh, actually, yeah, the opposite direction would be if you have claustrophobia kind of thing and you need open space, whether it's a big, like an open room, or you just need like, I guess it's the kind of like breathing space, if that's what you need to feel like relaxed. Otherwise, direct connection would be if you like a cozy wrapped in kind of thing. I know these are kind of weird random connections, but you can make all these kinds of connections. So however you might connect with that. Okay, so the hunter provider card, this is what you do with the majority of your time. We're looking at someone who's resourceful and who has good eyes, like just good eyes, like spotting things, like almost like I want to say in your current life, the way this feels would make me say that you would be good at like detective work, private investigation, like forensic science, like that kind of thing, where like you find like, oh, or that show, which I haven't watched, but I've seen like clips from it and I know about it. It's a show called House, I think, and it's like Dr. House or something, and he's like really good at spotting things that all the other doctors are missing, you know, like that kind of thing. So if you have good eyes in that way, like good eyes, like you spot things that other people don't spot, this can also connect in the way where it's like metaphorical, where you can read into something or read people and know something about them that they're not revealing outward on the surface, and you can trust your intuition and gut about that. So just in case you don't know that about let's say you that has happened and you've brushed it off, like, oh, I'm just reading into it, or oh, I'm just imagining things. This would feel like it's actually an ability or gift of you to be able to read the things that a lot of people don't read. So where most people just read people's surfaces, like what they're giving to them, like if someone is just smiling and happy kind of thing, you might be the one that's able to see that they are depressed despite smiling happy. You know what I mean? Like you just feel it, see it, like inner sense kind of thing. So connect however you can with that. If you're not aware of it, try to go along in your day when you interact with people and just feel it out and see like if that is actually a thing, like if you notice that, and that might be very interesting for you. So let's go ahead and move to the first important day, but keep making connections there where you can. So the first important day here, we have so long, farewell, until we meet again card. And this is like when people are leaving or fleeing, and the relationship is family, and the feelings is like a lonely kind of feeling here. And what this comes through as, it feels like for some reason, it just feels like something happens where your guardian parent, and I say that almost like it's a remaining parent, dies or passes away. I don't feel like at one point it feels like you had both your parents, part of this small community or tribe, we'll say. It feels like at some point, almost like I want to say your father, it's like almost like your father passed away when you were younger, you had your mother, and then she passed away. And it's not giving me why, but the important thing here is like there was a ceremony and to say goodbye to her, and as she is joining the ancestors, so there's an interesting feeling of celebrating, also like saying goodbye, like, but also like missing the physical presence, but understanding and watching as there's something about, you might want to look up and see if the indigenous people there, if they have anything about them burning the body or something, because there's something about showing me the smoke rising up and acknowledging that as a connection that she is joining the ancestors. So this is interesting here, but also what happens is a burden falls on your shoulder to take care of your younger sibling. And it feels like there's at least one other, there's like one, feels like younger brother. And so we're looking at you feeling a bit lonely because now you are the full-time caretaker. And this is I think this is a natural thing that happens in your community, where if the parents die and there's an older sibling, you take care of the younger sibling. Not to mention, the whole tribe is like a village or like a family, and so everyone kind of takes care of everyone. But as far as like the emotional needs, this is kind of a new step into a new version of yourself, where your younger brother is still young enough that something about wanting or needing attention, affection, or love in the way they do here, because he's still so young. I almost want to say we're looking at like a 3-year-old kind of thing, or and so you become the guardian and kind of like step into a version that has to be more adult. And I want to say at this time you are probably what we would consider to be 14-ish is what it feels like. So it's like a kid but not a kid, because you're also very like, you can hunt, you can go hunt for things or pull resources from the ground. Like, you are fully equipped to be an adult in this society, we can say. So this can connect to you in certain ways. So one, it can be a direct connection if you've lost any of your folks or people that are very like family members, and in the loss you would be stepping into a version of yourself that is either taking up more responsibility or a burden, or stepping into a version of yourself that is leaving more childish notions or ideals behind, which oftentimes happens when someone passes. You kind of, you know, a lot of people are like, they just kind of grow up a bit in that sense. I guess it's almost like an illusion is being broken, like that a parent is always going to be there, you know. So we're looking at a connection you might have where you have experienced being confronted with the passing of someone in your life, and in doing so, it is a burden in the sense of releasing more innocent notions of life, as well as potentially even taking on a responsibility, even if it's like watching their like taking their, you know, like taking care of their dog or something like that, or a kid even, but however you might connect with that. Now the opposite connection would be if in your current life you're like, I'm having a full-on childhood and I'm going to enjoy it, right? So if you've had that, that would be an opposite connection. Direct connection would be if your childhood was cut short, like childhood in the sense of innocent notions of life was cut short. And you know, even if the year 14 for you was pivotal in the transformation, we'll say, of your psyche or your mentality or emotionality when it comes to leaving childhood behind, stepping into a different role. So connect how you can with that. This can also be the kind of thing where, well, first of all, one, if you've ever been interested in ancestors, ancestral healing, connecting with ancestors, utilizing them, if you're into rituals or you're into wanting to call upon spirit in some way for help, you might do very well to call upon your ancestors and see what they can do for you. And this would be meditation, this would be ritual, this, you know, that kind of thing if you're into that. Or if you aren't into that but you hear about this and you're kind of open to it, this might be a little bit of a push to go dabble in it and see how it makes you feel, okay? The ancestor thing. But what I wanted to say was this kind of thing, seeing a loved one passing, having to take on the responsibility, what it could do is, in your current life, it can translate as you being someone who puts up walls to people and not letting people in, either for a long time or until it's like they have to be a very certain kind of person. Like a kind of person where you're like, I don't want to not have you in my life, kind of thing, where it's almost like, I want to say, you might see people as being more of a burden than not, like that kind of thing. This would be a direct connection if you either one, here's the thing, it feels like this younger sibling in you have a contract. So in your current life, if you have a younger sibling, direct connection, opposite, older sibling, or no sibling, like you decided, I'm only child this time, I don't want the possibility of having to care for a sibling. So that's one way we can look at it. Another connection again would be if they came back as a younger sibling, it would be so that you don't have to take care of them this time. Like it would be so that they wouldn't be a burden in this way. But then if they came back as an older sibling, it would be so that they could have the chance to take care of you. And it might even, if you have an older sibling and it's like that, it might come out as being annoying, like protective, annoying, or like hovering, or bossy, or I'm better than you, I know better than you, so listen to me, kind of thing. Because it gets kind of like convoluted with like just how sibling dynamics are these days. It's not the same here. There's more, I want to say there's a lot more respect here in this kind of lifestyle than there is today. So that's why it can be kind of like it can be just like they like where they might mean well, that kind of thing. They might mean well, but they might come off, rub off a certain way. Now this doesn't have to be a sibling. It could be someone who acts like an older sibling. Like it could be a really good friend who acts like an older sibling, or a younger, whatever, just a sibling. But we're looking for the energy signature in your life. This is how you would recognize them. If there's someone in your life that behaves like a sibling to you, and most likely would be the more like wanting you to listen to them, they know better kind of thing. Not that you should listen to them if it doesn't vibe with you at all, okay? So it's just that that's what we're looking for. So if someone comes to mind right now when I'm talking about that, and it doesn't matter about their age, honestly, they can be way older, they can be way younger, doesn't really matter. But if someone's coming to mind when I'm talking about these traits, then trust that that's the person that is this person here. Just trust that. That's your intuition telling you. It's your higher self giving you the information. If no one comes to mind, then you want to tuck in the back of your mind for a later time, because it could be that this kind of person, this like soul, they might be coming in later on. That kind of thing. Now, I do want to circle back. If you are someone that puts up walls that doesn't allow people into your inner sanctum easily, that's not a bad thing. It's the only message coming through about that would be to make sure that the people that you are kind of vetting to let in, that you at least like crack open to like let people into like a little more, just to see if you're not like missing out on something. Does that make sense? Like almost like instead of just being like nope right away, like almost like basically like give people maybe a little bit more of a chance and then say no, if that makes sense. Just connect however you can. But this would speak to someone who would just want to kind of take care of themselves. So if you're someone that just likes to take care of yourself, that would be it. This would also speak to someone that feels isolated or lonely, even if it's your own doing. So again, even if you are, let's say, an introvert, or you are very selective with spending time with people, it's okay if that also comes with feeling isolated and lonely, and understanding that you do have the power to not feel that way if you decide to, again, like just crack it open a little and let someone in, or a couple people in, or step outside your comfort zone and spend time with people outside of what you're used to, that kind of thing. But you don't have to, you know, it's about your comfort level. But understand what's coming through is the idea of how when we step outside of our comfort zone every now and then, it usually comes with a really good reward, you know, really good feeling something. So just consider that in the case that you might find yourself feeling lonely or isolated, which I guess, you know, with what's going on in the world, that's very possible. But just in general, even before this whole thing happened, like with the, you know, pandemic or whatever, if that was your gig about just like you time kind of thing, or lonely, isolation, whatever, again, it's okay. But there are good times to step out of the comfort zone sometimes. So just, there you go. I'm just going to leave you with that one. But make connections where you can with this day. And we're going to go to the next important day. So this is the enlightenment card. Usually it's like an aha kind of day, like an aha moment, or leveling up, or something is like clicking or whatever. This is the child card, and this is the quite capable, incapable card. And what we're seeing is years down the road, you actually come to a realization that your brother is your kid. Like, it's how you raised him. It's like, I want to say he becomes the age that you took him on. So like he turns 14, and there's something about turning a certain age where you become a man, you know, like in the tribe. And it feels like all of a sudden you have this, and I have goosebumps right now. It's like this feeling of watching your kid graduating. And it's emotional, and I feel like these people don't show emotion, but like inside of you are all these emotions, which, by the way, you might directly connect with. If you are someone that does not show your emotion, you might be stoic, but you might be feeling a lot. So if you're someone that hides your emotions, or you know, you're very aware of what you show, that kind of thing, that'd be direct connection. Opposite would be if you're just a big old crybaby and you just like, oh, you know, you're just out there showing your emotions. So connect how you can when it comes to being emotional in public or in front of people. But this day is when this kid is no longer a kid, and then you also realize that, I mean, even though he's your brother technically, by, you know, how things work, he's actually, you raised him since he was a baby. So he is you kind of look at him as a son, because at this point, what does that mean? You're almost hitting 30 years old, essentially, or what it seems like, and he's now becoming a man in the tribe. It's like, it's very interesting. So this is about viewing things from a different perspective over time, and it's the idea of letting things ruminate and letting things grow and organically, naturally in relationships. I want to say it feels like relationships, just not, it's almost like not taking the temperature of your relationship all the time. Like, let's say you're in a relationship, this would be a message of letting go of some kind of control where you might be observing and like looking for things that either may bother you or irritate you, or looking for things that you feel might be like a red flag or something like that, where there isn't. Like, I'm not saying don't be aware of red flags, but it's almost like red flags present themselves quite obviously, quite frankly. Like, when you look back, hindsight, you're like, oh yeah, that's such a red flag. And this can be friendships or romantic relationships, whatever, but it's the kind of thing where don't like go like hunting and searching for red flags, because the red flags, if there are any, they will present themselves to you at the right time, and your job is just to be aware of them should they present themselves and not dismiss them, versus taking the like searching and clawing for red flags. So I'm not saying you're doing that, but there's something about this where it's translating as allow your friendships, relationships, whatever it might be, to organically be like, just nurture it organically day by day. Don't assess it all the time. Just in the case that you might connect with this, don't assess it all the time. It's kind of like letting go of control. So if you find that you have control issues when it comes to people, relationships, friendships, family, whatever it might be, it's almost like I want you to check in with yourself. And if there are people in your life that you're having like issues with, almost like if you're bothered by someone, look and see if it has to do with you wanting to control how they act, behave, towards you, speak towards you, or it's almost like more than anything, it's about let go of trying to control the outcome of a relationship or the growth of a relationship, if that makes sense. And also let it, like, you know, like relationship, there's something about like it goes in phases, it goes up and down. Like here, it wasn't all peaches and cream. Like it was like good days, bad days, you know, exhaustion and energy, and annoyance and love. And so it's like this it's just such a full, I mean, that's a relationship, it's everything. But again, it's not about dismissing red flags or, you know, abuse or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just about not going and looking to sabotage relationships because something might feel off. Instead, it's almost like I want to say, if something feels off, sit with it for a little bit, and if it still feels off, then like have a conversation rather than like looking for evidence to sabotage. This is only if you connect with this. And if you don't connect now, just tuck in the back of your mind for later, because this might be something later, and but it's, even though it sounds kind of weird, it's actually a good thing, because it's basically saying that it's a feeling of like you don't have anything to worry about because everything will organically take care of itself. You don't have to be so much in control or in the driver's seat all the time. In the same vein, I also want to say that you do need to be the driver of your own life, but in this way, I'm saying you don't have to be like, just like, it's just so in control, if that makes sense. So however you might connect with the concept of control and how it relates to your relationships, / friendship / family, that kind of thing. So just, you know, just food for thought too. Take it with a grain of salt, you know. But this quite capable, incapable card comes up because in hindsight, it's like there were days when you're like, I don't know if I can do this. How am I going to do this? Like, this is not, you know, and then you look back 14 years later and you're like, this is our life together, and it's been great, and it's been hard, but I've learned a lot. It's very emotional. It's very emotional. So I feel like it's almost like use hindsight to see how strong you are, how far you've come, how much you've grown in knowledge and experience, and try to focus on those things as more optimistic or positive aspects, even though I know there are negative aspects, but dwelling in them is not so useful for, I want to say, for paving a path to the future that is more, I guess we can say enlightened, like this card. Or I want to say more peace of mind, where our goal here is peace of mind. Yeah. Yep. Okay, good. Yeah, so keep making connections where you can with this, and we're gonna go ahead to the death card. So the death card here is the accident card. Right away what's coming through is the idea of getting punctured. So there's a puncture wound. It might be an animal. If you, okay, so it feels almost like a tusk, like a tusky kind of thing. If you can Google and see if there are, I honestly, I want to say it's like a wild boar, the feeling of it, but there might be another animal similar to that in the Amazon or northern South America kind of thing. That they're just, I'm just seeing it as like a big wild boar because that's the only animal I can put with this kind of tusk. But there's something about a tusk and there's something about a puncture wound being caught off guard, and I feel like that's it's kind of that kind of death. So it was a surprise. Now the puncture wound feels like it has to do with either lungs or ribs or side of the body, but we're looking at your torso core. So it's like it would be, you know, below the neck and above the pelvic region, and it would be in a yeah, a very sensitive area. Obviously that's all sensitive, but like it hits like a pivotal organ kind of thing. Like that, you don't survive that. So in your current life, how this might pertain to you is, well, if you have a fear of being mauled by a wild animal, I know that's so random, but sometimes it echoes like that, where you don't have a reason to have that kind of fear, but it may come from this. This can also be if you are paranoid about being caught off guard. Like you might be someone that just likes to, it's the kind of thing where if you were to go into a place like a restaurant or a store, like a restaurant, you need to sit where you can see everything. It's just about being caught off guard or surprised. You might be someone that does not like surprises, like surprise parties or things like that might not be your gig at all. And let's see. I mean, you might have a thing against wild boars. Like, I know, like, or pigs or boars. Like, maybe you just really don't like those animals for some reason. The opposite would be if you really like those animals because that's your soul just wanting to make friends with the animal again to, like, make up for what happened here. Because it's not the animal's fault. It was just doing what it's meant to do. Let's see. Oh, and this, if you have a birthmark or any kind of marking on your body in your core area, like that would be near an organ or... it would be, again, in that area I talked about, and it would just be like a mark that you would, it's not like a freckle, it would be like a mark, like maybe a birthmark or something, and if not, that's fine. Let's see. Yeah. What's coming to mind is Steve Irwin, how he passed. He was just doing what he did, and the animal was just being the animal he was, and there was forgiveness there. Like, you know, like, you can't blame the animal for just being what it was born to do kind of thing. So however you might connect with that message in any way. But yeah, so keep making connections where you can with that, and we're gonna go ahead to the lesson card. So here we have the boundaries card, and I feel like this is speaking to this right here. Honestly, it's about like taking on the responsibility of this kid because it's just how it's done, right? And I feel like, I mean, and there's beautiful rewards from it, but it was really hard too. And I feel like because of that, you in your current life came back so that you wouldn't have to deal with the burden of responsibility of something like this. Like having to take on the burden or responsibility of other people. And I mean that physically, mentally, or emotionally. So if you find that you're doing that, or have done that, or are doing that, or will be doing, you know, if things are coming up, like where you see a theme of that, that is only happening for you to see it as an opportunity for you to put up boundaries, say no, not be a people pleaser, and to choose you and your peace of mind over taking other people's responsibilities or burdens off of their shoulders. Understanding that when you do that, you're enabling them to not learn their lesson as well. So your lesson is to basically say no for your own peace of mind and self-love, so that they can also learn their lesson of taking on their own responsibility and their own burden and dealing with someone saying no to them. We all have lessons. Those are all soul contracts. Those little, even if it lasts for a minute or a day, you know? So just keep that in mind. And The boundary card, also, I do want to say we did talk about walls up with people and also letting cracks in to like give people a little more chances, but this is not in the way of taking their responsibility or burden off of them. That's not the kind of chance this is. With those chances of letting walls down with people, it's so that they can make you feel good. And it's not about like, oh, serving anybody. It's not like that. It's just that their presence alone would make you feel a lack of burden. So walls up to people who want to hand you an emotional, mental, or physical burden, and walls down slightly, if you can manage, to people that you feel might want to come in and, what's it called? Give to your life. Make it better. So keep making connections with this boundary card however you can, all right? And anyway, there is your past life. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you're able to make some connections here. And thanks for letting me read you.